Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Acts, the 25th chapter. Now, when Festus was come into the province, after 3 days he ascended from Caesarea to Jerusalem. So after 3 days of being in office, he went to Jerusalem. Then the high priest and the chief of the Jews informed him against Paul and besought him and desired favor against him that he would send for him to Jerusalem, lying wait in the way to kill him. So basically, they were accusing Paul against him, and they were trying to get him to do them a favor of sending Paul to Jerusalem to basically stand trial over there. Meanwhile, they had set up people to kill Paul while he would be on his way there. But Festus answered that Paul should be kept at Caesarea, and that he himself would depart shortly thither. So he himself would go there. And remember, the Lord already told Paul, don't worry, you're going to bear witness at Rome. So Paul isn't going to die here. Let them therefore, said he, which among you are able to go down with me, go down with me, and accuse this man, if there be any wickedness in him. So if you have an issue, and those of you which are able, you go with me to Caesarea, and you bring your cases against him, and let's see if he's guilty of any. And when he had tarried among them more than 10 days, he went down unto Caesarea. And the next day, sitting on the judgment seat, commanded Paul to be brought. And when he was come, the Jews which came down from Jerusalem stood round about, and laid many and grievous complaints against Paul, which they could not prove. So they were just throwing out accusations against Paul. Oh, he's done this. Oh, he's guilty of that. Oh, and he did this. Oh, did I mention he did that too? I also heard he did this. But they didn't have any proof of that. While he answered for himself, neither against the law of the Jews, neither against the temple, nor yet against Caesar, have I offended anything at all. But Festus, willing to do the Jews a pleasure, answered Paul and said, Wilt thou go up to Jerusalem, and there be judged of these things before me? So he was trying to please the Jews. He had just come in office. He is governor of the region. The majority of people living there are Jews. He's trying to get a good, he's trying to be like be in a good light with them. So he's like, okay, do you want to have us go and conduct your trial at Jerusalem? And Paul knew at this point that this wasn't going to go anywhere, and it wouldn't bear well for him with the direction that it's going. He knew they were already trying to sway him because of that question that he asked. So Paul's response, then said Paul, I stand at Caesar's judgment seat, where I ought to be judged. To the Jews have I done no wrong, as thou very well knowest. So he's saying, no, I'm going to be judged right here. NLT. But Paul replied, no, this is the official Roman court, so I ought to be tried right here. You know very well I'm not guilty of harming, I am not guilty of harming the Jews. For if I be an offender, or have committed anything worthy of death, I refuse not to die. So if I am guilty, then sure. Hey, if I'm guilty and I gotta be put to death, hey, so be it. I'm not gonna deny that, right? But if there be none of these things whereof these accuse me, no man may deliver me unto them. I appeal unto Caesar. So he's saying, but if it is that I'm not guilty of any things they're accusing me, then no, you can't deliver me to suffer a judgment that I'm not worthy of. I haven't committed any sins in the sense of what they're accusing me of. So by him saying he appeals to Caesar, he's basically saying, I want my case heard at a higher court in Rome. It doesn't necessarily mean that he would show up directly before Caesar himself, but it would be a judicial court, one of the highest in Rome, under the authority of the current Caesar, which at this time, I believe, was Nero. I believe at this time as well, though, this was the version of Nero before he went, psycho. All right. Then Festus, when he had conferred with the council, answered, Hast thou appealed unto Caesar? Unto Caesar shalt thou go. He said, Oh, okay. You want your case over there? Fine. Then we'll take you to Caesar. And after certain days, King Agrippa and Berenice came unto Caesarea to salute Festus. And when they had been there many days, Festus declared Paul's cause unto the king, saying, There is a certain man left in bonds by Felix. And remember, it had been what, like 2 years that Paul was left there in prison? Damn. And let's see, I think this was Agrippa the second, but let's confirm. Okay, let's take a look in the dictionaries. There we go, Agrippa. Yeah, brother of Berenice and Drusilla. Yep, it was before him. So it was Agrippa the second. So he comes here. Festus is informing him, hey, we got this guy over here. Felix left him here. Left him in prison, bound over here, and this was his case. About whom, when I was at Jerusalem, the chief priests and the elders of the Jews informed me, desiring to have judgment against him. So yeah, they really wanted his neck. To whom I answered, It is not the manner of the Romans to deliver any man to die, before that he which is accused have the accusers face to face. That is, before he can, stand trial face to face and defend himself, right? And have license to answer for himself concerning the crime laid against him. So I can't just give him up to death. No, he deserves a fair trial. And he's a Roman citizen. Therefore, when they were come hither, without any delay on the morrow, I sat on the judgment seat and commanded the man to be brought forth. Against whom, when the accusers stood up, they brought none accusation of such things as I supposed. So he thought, with the way they were speaking about him, like surely this guy had like murdered some babies or, lit the temple on fire or done something. But the accusations they brought against him is not what I expected, but had certain questions against him of their own superstition. So here he's saying it was really just some back and forth, some disagreements about their beliefs. And of one Yahushai, which was dead, whom Paul affirmed to be alive. And because I doubted of such manner of questions, I asked him whether he would go to Jerusalem and there be judged of these matters. He's like, I don't know the ins and outs of their beliefs, so that's why I asked him, hey, would you rather go to Jerusalem and have your case heard there and be judged? But when Paul had appealed to be reserved unto the hearing of Augustus, this is not Augustus Caesar as in the Caesar that reigned after Julius. Augustus here is another term used for Caesar. So the Caesar at this time, I believe, is Nero. I commanded him to be kept till I might send him to Caesarea, or Caesarea, to Caesar. Then Agrippa said unto Festus, I would also hear the man myself. Tomorrow, said he, thou shalt hear him. So Agrippa wanted to hear what Paul had to say. And on the morrow, when Agrippa was come, and Berenice with great pomp, right, they came there up in style, all proud and shit, big-headed, and there entered into the place of hearing, and was entered into the place of hearing with the chief captains and principal men of the city. At Festus's commandment, Paul was brought forth. And Festus said, King Agrippa, and all men which are here present with us, ye see this man, about whom all the multitude of the Jews have dealt with me, both at Jerusalem and also here, crying that he ought not to live any longer. They want him dead. But when I found that he had committed nothing worthy of death, and that he himself had appealed to Augustus, I have determined to send him, of whom I have no certain thing to write unto my Lord. Wherefore I have brought him forth before you, and specially before thee, O King Agrippa, that after examination had, I might have somewhat to write. So he appealed to Caesar, and I'm going to send him there, but I don't really have any crime or any reason to send to say why he's being sent here. So I'm hoping that after you examine him, I might have something to write down as a cause for sending him to Caesar. For it seemeth to me unreasonable to send a prisoner and not withal to signify the crimes laid against him. And that brings us to the end of the book of Acts, the 25th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.